Thanks for joining me on tonight's Saturday Night Special, episode 31.
I'm Joe Saul-Sehy from the Stacking Benjamins podcast. I encourage you to find ways to be inspired to find financial freedom. And one way I do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship podcast with my friend Scott Maderer.
But they want to do it without sacrificing other people, without sacrificing the greater good. They want to do it in a way that serves others well and provides more value than they charge. And if that is encoded into the culture of the business and stays there, and the people that work for the business continue to have that at the center of their behavior.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In tonight's Saturday Night Special, I talk with you about why business isn't inherently greedy, how business can indeed turn to greed, and what you can do to keep your business from becoming greedy. You know, one area that a lot of folks need some help with is around the area of productivity. Getting not just more things done, but actually getting the right things done can be really, really tough. I've got a course called Productivity for Your Passion that's designed to help you do this and then to hold you accountable and walk with you so that you can tailor productivity not just to be getting more done, but actually getting the right things done. What's more, we take the approach of looking at your personality and how you actually look at things in the world and tailor the productivity system to your personality. Because the truth is, a lot of the systems that are out there are written really well for somebody with a particular personality type. But if you have a different approach to things, they just don't work. But there's tools and techniques and approaches that you can take that will work for anyone. And we help you do that in Productivity for Your Passion. Check it out over at inspiredstewardship.com/launch. Greed. Greed is defined as an extreme selfish desire or ambition. The funny thing is that definition doesn't necessarily hit home in terms of an emotional thing, but we all know what greed is. We've all experienced it, where someone or something around us seems to have nothing in mind except for their own well-being. They sacrifice everyone around them to get what they want. And when we see it, we generally don't like it. We think of it as a negative thing. You know, sure, there's movies and TV shows and other things where they prescribe greed is good, that being greedy drives us forward in a way. But then there's an equal counterbalancing about how we have to have other people's well-being in mind. And of course, in this podcast, I've talked time and time again about how serving others is really the power and the thing that we should be after. So I think at first glance, it's fairly obvious that I think greed is not a good thing. But what's interesting is if you watch popular television, if you turn on the news, if you listen to the media, you will talk about and you will hear people talking about how business by its very nature is greedy, that it's self-centered to try to start a business that succeeds in some way. If you're making an income, if you're creating goods, if you're selling product, that somehow inherent in that very act is a sense of greediness because you're wanting to provide money for your stockholders, you're wanting to grow the business, and the only thing that can come from is a sense of greed. So business inherently, according to this model, is bad and greedy and selfish. We should always tear it down. But that isn't really 100% true. I mean, if we think about it, there are businesses probably that you can think of in your own neighborhood, that you can think of in your own friends, you can think of around you, where basically people are doing things that really help serve others. They provide benefits to the community. And when you look at it, you recognize that, sure, that business is making money, but that business is also doing things that provide a benefit around them where the value far exceeds the cost of what they're doing. The value, both directly and indirectly to the community at large, is higher than the cost or the expense of the business and the product. And in those cases, is that business really being greedy? Really, what happens a lot of times is it's less about the business and it's more about the people. See, businesses are just collections of people. They have policies, they have rules, they have procedures, and they have people. And those people encode the behavior into the business. And what's interesting is if the culture of the business is one of performance at any cost, money made at any cost, cut all the ends and it's really about the ends justify the means. You know, you can do anything you want to do as long as you're succeeding and making money. And that's how we define success in this business. That's what we're after in this business. Then it's very easy for that business to begin to turn and have a greedy mindset and behavior where it's all about making the shareholders money. It's all about the short-term wins. There's no thought about the long-term consequences. There's no thought about what happens to the larger community. But it's also possible for within those policies and procedures, the people that make up that business to encode a philosophy where it's not just about the bottom line, where serving and impacting the community in a positive way is actually valued within the business. That's really how a business can become a great business without greed. Sure, they still want to make money. They still want to stay in business. And to stay in business, a business does have to make money. But they want to do it without sacrificing other people, without sacrificing the greater good. They want to do it in a way that serves others well and provides more value than they charge. And if that is encoded into the culture of the business and stays there, and the people that work for the business continue to have that at the center of their behavior, then that business will not turn greedy. By the way, this isn't a size thing. You could have a business with one person, and it could be a greedy business. And you could have a company or a corporation that employs 3,000 or more employees, and it could be a greedy business. But equally, you could have a solopreneur shop where that one person encodes within their behavior truly serving others, and it's not a greedy business. And you could have a company with thousands of employees, and that's not a greedy business as well. If it's encoded in the DNA of that business, the culture of the business is setting out to really serve others and serve the larger community beyond just the bottom line. And I'm using money here as a measure of greed, but it could be other things as well. Anything that is put above everything else within the business is going to become the thing that that business serves. And if that thing is self-serving only to the business, then that business is destined to move towards being a greedy business. But if it doesn't, then is business inherently greedy? And I would say no. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Go over to inspiredstewardship.com/iTunes rate. All one word, iTunes rate. It'll take you through how to leave a rating and review and how to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get every episode as it comes out in your feed. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.